Hey, what's up, Guild Wars 2 fans? So today what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about Guild Wars 2 Legendary Armor for World vs. World. In this video we're going to cover the full set of materials that you need for crafting the Legendary Armor for World vs. World, as well as some assumptions that I'm going to make as far as what you're going to be needing to do to reach those goals for the materials inside the 22 weeks that it's going to take to acquire all of the World versus World skirmish claim tickets. And then I'm going to lay out a path that you should be able to benchmark yourself against and get your gear completed in that amount of time. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the materials. So the biggest item here, the time-gated item that is going to really drive a lot of this process, is going to be your World versus World skirmish claim tickets, and you're going to need a grand total of those. If you're making the first tier not super shiny set, you're going to need 7,880 of those. The next item that you're going to need 900 spirit shards. Those are going to come by pretty easy in here. And you're also going to need 3,000 of the memories of battle. Now, interestingly enough, you're going to have, by the end of this, week 21, you're going to have a little over 3,000 of those just from completing the reward tracks as well as the pip rewards. Finally, the other World versus World exclusive item that you have are the Badges of Honor. You're going to need 3,000 of those. So let's go ahead and break down each of the components here real quick, and then we will talk about the progression for this. And interestingly enough, it really feels like ArenaNet really designed this to be able to be completed in approximately those 22 weeks. So let's go ahead and talk about what I found to be the easiest path to complete the Legendary Armor in World vs. World, especially if you're a dedicated World vs. World player. So the first thing we'll look at is the Gift of War Prowess, and that is where a large majority of these World v World skirmish tickets are going to be going. You're going to need 6,570 of those to complete this across all 6 pieces, as well as 300 spirit shards, 300 obsidian shards, 6 balls of dark energy. Those, just a quick reminder, acquired through salvaging ascended items, and they are guaranteed only from the weapons and the armor pieces, and there are a chance as you salvage them from trinkets like rings, earrings, and amulets. Next you have 75 stabilized matrices. If you don't play fractals, those are purchasable through the trading post. And then next you have the Gift of War Dedication. This is where you're going to need your 3,000 Badges of Honor for all 6 pieces in total, and then you are going to need 600 additional Spirit Shards here, taking your total to the 900 Spirit Shards that you need. And you are going to also need 1,500 Testimonies of Heroics, as well as 1,500 Memories of Battle. You'll also be using an additional 1,500 Memories of Battle to completely purchase your Ascended Armor from the vendor, which is where I'm currently standing here, and that's after you've completed the reward track. So once you've purchased here, you're going to need the Grandmaster marks as well. You're going to be able to get through 6 Grandmaster marks in the 22 weeks, which will allow you to purchase 2 of the items here. The other ones I would highly suggest crafting. So whether you just purchase the items from the trading post, or you go through and do your daily crafting during this time and get all those components done, that's definitely the more cost-effective way. But that would be how you're going to get that Ascended Armor. So next you have the Gift of War Prosperity. This is going to be running the Gift of Battle reward track 6 times, the Mystic Clovers, which surprisingly are going to be an extremely easy part of this process, and then as well as the more challenging pieces here, the Gift of Condensed Might and the Gift of Condensed Magic. Now, the challenge for those two is that's going to require a grand total of 600 of the tier 6 items, 1500 of the tier 5 items, 300 of the tier 4 items, and 300 of the T3 items to complete both the Gift of Condensed Might and Gift of Condensed Magic for a full set of legendary armor. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the acquisition strategy. Okay, so let's talk about the assumptions that I have for this acquisition strategy real quick. So the assumptions that I'm going to be making in regards to acquiring all of these materials are the following. Number one, that you are completing your reward track all the way through your diamond chest and completing your diamond chest every single week. That is where the time gate for the World vs. World skirmish tickets are, and that's the biggest reason in this timeline, as you can see, why we are out at the 22-week mark. The next assumption we are going to be making is you are playing approximately 24 hours in World vs. World every week, giving you the ability to complete 3 reward tracks per week in World vs. World, which will be netting us a total of 6 Mystic Clovers per week. And in addition to that, we will be getting 149 Memories of Battle. The number of obsidian shards that we will be accruing during this time will also vary a little bit, but generally about 24 per week. Should be looking at about a total of 768 obsidian shards by the end of the 22nd week. Also, for the acquisition of spirit shards and gold, we are also assuming that the player is playing all 7 days a week and completing their daily rewards for the World vs. World dailies, accruing up to a total of 308 gold, and will be getting 2 World vs. World levels per hour, getting us to a grand total of 2,574 spirit shards. We really only need about 900 of those in total, so we'll definitely be finished with those by week 8. So if you're not quite leveling that fast, not a big deal, but they could come in handy for some item conversions a little bit later on. But let's go ahead and talk about the most difficult part of this legendary, and that is the trophies. So after we run the armor reward track for the first 6 iterations, which would be week 1 and week 2, we would be at the Gift of Battle, which we are going to need to run for 2 weeks, which would be week 3 and week 4. And then after that, from week 5 to week 22, I'm suggesting that we run the Dragonfall reward track. And specifically why we're targeting the Dragonfall reward track is because we are going to be able to get volatile magic from that reward track, which we're going to be able then to convert to trophy shipments. And those trophy shipments, we should be able to get about 3,600 volatile magic a week from those reward tracks, which should translate into about 14 trophy shipments per week. That is important because that's where a large majority of the trophies that we're going to be acquiring for this crafting process are going to come from. The other portion of the T5 and T6 materials is going to come from heavy loot bags, and we're going to be assuming that a player should be able to get about 10 heavy loot bags per hour, getting them to about 5,280 during the course of 22 weeks. With all of that being said, and we'll be using the laurels, and we'll be purchasing the plentiful laurels from the day 28 chest of loyalty. So after that, what we will do is we will convert all of those into T6 bags. And once these three methods are completed during the 22 weeks, you should have about 1,535 of each of the Tier 5 material and 421 of the Tier 6 material. So that still leaves you, I know, with 179, but if you're pushing a little bit harder, or if you're in a much larger fight during the time that you are in World versus World, you should definitely be yielding a lot more than 10 bags per hour. I know when I'm fighting with larger guilds, I'm generally pulling about half a stack per night. So I would say between 90 and 130 bags a night would be fairly average. So even if you take that to 100 bags per night, you should be looking at a considerable amount more heavy loot bags per week. But that's kind of a conservative number. And then what you'll be able to do with those is all of the excess spirit shards you're getting during that time, you'll be able to use item promotion to help bolster those Tier 6 materials that are a little bit behind. But you'll want to also be careful not to take any of those materials down below the 1,500 mark that you're going to be needing. Alright, so one of the other things that I would suggest during this process is either taking your character up to the triple chest area here at Cassini Crossing and doing the, I've already done it for the day, but there are 3 chests here that you're able to loot. And this here generally will give you between, I would say between 15 and 50 trade contracts per day, which will be important to trade in with the karma that you'll be getting from completing events in World versus World. And you'll be able to use those to trade into like heart vendors for the trophy chests that they have in their stores, and then you can target the specific trophies that you need more of, and that'll assist with the T3 and Tier 4 materials. Alright, Guild Wars 2 fans, before we wrap this up, there was a couple last things I wanted to mention. So as far as the reward track progress, remember you can boost those with birthday boosters as well as WvW reward track experience booster from your guild hall. You also can get boosters. Sometimes there's like event boosters that are going on. So currently there is a WvW event going on where you have increased experience in World versus World. So take advantage of those while those are going on. And if you find that you are still a little bit behind in your trophy acquisition, don't forget that you are going to get a lot more bags fighting in large Zerg fights than you are just roaming around. So maybe change things up a little bit, do a little bit of defense, use some arrow carts in World versus World when your keeps are getting attacked, and get a few more bags. Hopefully you guys are all having a good one, and we'll catch you next time.